Okay guys, today I'm gonna talk about descending autonomic fibers, and here I have an illustration. You can pause the video and just do this illustration, and then after do it you can join me again to learn more about the descending autonomic fibers. Okay, so let me just use the black one. I think it will be better for you to see it. Okay guys, so this is the illustration that you'll be doing. Now this one is the lateral corticospinal tract. Okay, this one I'm gonna abbreviate lateral corticospinal tract, okay, LCT. Then this one is the hubrospinal tract, this one here, hubrospinal tract, and they're gonna abbreviate to RT. And this one is the descending autonomic fibers in the lateral funiculus. I'm gonna put descending autonomic fibers, DAF. Okay, this might not be standard, guys. I'm just doing this in order to be more dynamic for your study. And this is the descending autonomic fibers, here in the lateral funiculus, and this one descending autonomic fibers in anterior funiculus. Okay, so remember that this is part of the lateral and this one is part of the anterior. Now let me just cover this part here with me here. Okay, the descending autonomic fibers will originate from higher autonomic centers in the brain and spinal cord, and these fibers travels and disperse as dispersed pathways through the body of the through both, actually, the lateral funiculus and the anterior funiculus. Okay, and they will end in the autonomic neurons located in the lateral horn of the spinal cord. Now the lateral corticospinal tract originates from the cerebral cortex and descends through the lateral funiculus of the spinal cords, and it's primarily responsible for motor control of voluntary functions, and it's also indirectly connected with to autonomic control via its influence on descending autonomic pathways. The hubrospinal tract, this one here, originates from the red nucleus in the midbrain, and this tract descends through the lateral funiculus and will be especially important for the motor control by modulating muscle tone and movement coordination, and is indirectly contribute to autonomic regulation through its interaction with other descending pathways. The descending autonomic fibers in the lateral funiculus carry signals from higher autonomic centers such as hypothalamus and brainstem and descend through the lateral funiculus, and they will play a role in regulating visceral functions such as heart rate, blood pressure, and gastrointestinal motility. And the last but not the least, we have the descending autonomic fibers in the anterior funiculus. Similar to those in the lateral funiculus, these fibers also originate from the higher autonomic centers but travel through the anterior funiculus, and they will contribute to the modulation of autonomic functions, particularly those related to sympathetic and parasympathetic activities. Now, the function of the descending autonomic fibers are directly connected to controlling involuntary physiological processes, including cardiovascular function, respiratory rates, digestion, thermoregulation, and they integrate signals from higher brain centers to regulate the activity of autonomic neurons in the spinal cord. And the autonomic neurons in the lateral horn here, of the spinal cord will contain preganglionic autonomic neurons that receive input from descending autonomic fibers, and these neurons projected to ganglia outside the spinal cord, and where they later will synapse with the postganglionic neurons that innervate target organs. Now, when damaged, the descending autonomic pathways, or for some injury or disease affecting these pathways, usually this can lead to disruptions of the autonomic function, and such as the sympathetic dysfunction, that is when the damage to the descending autonomic fibers results in reduced sympathetic activity, leading to symptoms such as hypotension, bradycardia, and impaired thermoregulation. Also, parasympathetic dysfunction, disruption of these pathways can also affect parasympathetic functions, leading to issues like constipation, urinary retention, and dry eyes. There are a few conditions that affect the autonomic function: spinal cord injury, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease are just some of them. And the descending autonomic fibers will arise from the higher autonomic centers and will travel through the lateral and anterior funiculi of the spinal cord, terminating on autonomic neurons in the lateral horn, and will play an important role in regulating involuntary physiological process. So this is pretty much what I have for you guys. I hope you can take some benefit advantage of this lesson. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. I will see you next time.